Hello and welcome to Culinary 170, module number 5. The idea here is that we are costing out a recipe that involves ingredients that require some fabrication. Basically meaning that you have an as purchased quantity and we have an edible portion that we have to consider. So what we have here is a recipe for spinach and artichoke dip. If you look at it up here, there's the recipe title right here, and the recipe makes 35 portions, each of them at 2 ounces apiece. Not a big deal for this particular video because I'm just going to be looking at specific ingredients to help you figure out exactly what's going on with the costing. So that's just kind of something to put on your radar. But this information right here is where you would actually have where you'd put on your recipe card. So like if I wanted to go out and find out how much onion, garlic, butter, so on and so forth is in the spinach and artichoke dip, this is where I would go to. And just like in the previous videos, it says nothing about the actual process. It's just the individual ingredients themselves. The idea in costing is that you're really not doing this in the kitchen. This is something you're going to be doing in the office or at your home, just costing out the recipes for your menu. So let's talk about some of these ingredients that require some fabrication. Well, first of all, we've got the onions right here. Onion, medium diced. Clearly, plain as day, it says right there, there's fabrication. We want 3 ounces of that. So we're going to have to find out first how much the onions cost us. We're going to find that APC bulk quantity. So I'm just looking at some prices that I have in front of me, and you may have something different. That's okay. It's not a big deal. But for onions, I have got, looks like about maybe $15.50 for 50 pounds. $15.50 for 50 pounds. And this is what I'm getting from the distributor. That's why I'm calling it a bulk price rather than just a unit price. Because for the unit price, I'm going to have to break that down by pound at the very least. So I'll have to take my price, $15.50, and divide it by 50 pounds. And that'll tell me my dollars per pound. So when I put that in my calculator, and I do $15.50 divided by 50, that's going to give me about 31 cents per pound. 31 cents per pound. Now, I could stop there because that is a unit price. However, when I look at my recipe, it's for 3 ounces, and I could break that 31 cents per pound down to be per ounce. It makes my life a little bit easier. So I'm going to take that 31 cents and divide it by 16 ounces because there's 16 ounces per pound. So when I do my 0.31 divided by 16, that's going to tell me that these onions are a little over a cent per ounce. So it's 0.019375. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it off at the 4th place there. So it's actually going to be $0.0194 per ounce. Okay? And that's what I'm going to put in for my APC unit price. So $0.0194 per ounce. And there you go. So that's going to be a really good piece of information that we need to finish costing out these onions. Because the reason I wanted to take it down to ounces is when I get to the revised quantity portion, I need to ask myself, do these ounces here match these ounces over here? And you think about it, well, yeah, they kind of do. So that means that since I don't have a kind of unit mismatch, I don't have to worry so much about converting anything, because usually we have to take this 3 ounces and turn it over into pounds or tablespoons or whatnot. But because the units match up for my revised quantity, I can simply put 3 ounces. So all's well and good. And if the onions had 100% yield, all I have to do is take that 3 ounces and multiply it by the 0.0194, and I'd be done. The problem is that onions, especially medium diced, obviously have a sort of fabrication involved. So I actually have to go out and I have to look up what the yield percentage is for onions, medium diced. If you don't have a means to look that up, like you don't have access to the internet, don't have access to like a book of yields or something, you could go into a kitchen, take an onion, weigh it on a scale, do the medium dice, and then weigh which is usable, what your EP is, which is fine. That's actually probably a more legitimate way to do that because that actually reflects your own personal knife skills. Or if you have your staff do it, it reflects their knife skills. So just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and just look up the onions, what the medium diced is, and it's looking like they have a yield percentage of about 91.2. And I'm just getting that from the Book of Yields, really handy resource by Francis T. Lynch. If you get a chance to pick it up, I would highly recommend it, because that way I don't have to actually go in the kitchen and cut up the onions or cut up the garlic or whatever. So now that I've got this yield percent, and I know I need 3 ounces, most of us are probably aware that if I went in the pantry, went in the storeroom, and picked out 3 ounces of onion and then diced them up, I'm not going to have 3 ounces of diced onions. I'll get it out, right? Because we're going to lose some through fabrication. So we actually can't just go get 3 ounces. We have to get a little bit more. And to figure out exactly how much more I need to do, well, you just look at this right here. It says take your revised quantity and divide it by the yield percentage. So we'll do exactly that. We'll end up taking our 3 ounces and we divide it by 91.2%. Now, some of you might have a calculator that has a percent button, and you can do that, that's fine. I tend to not trust that button because some calculators hit enter, some don't, and some just do weird things. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just convert this over to be 3 divided by 0.912. Reason being, with percent, you always make sure you move the decimal place over twice because it's out of 100. So when I do 3 divided by 0.912, I end up with an answer of, let's see, 3.289,473, yada, 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 on and on and on. I'm going to go ahead and cut this off 4 places in so that it's 3.2895. And you remember what the unit is on that? Well, we were talking about 3 ounces of onions, so I'm going in to get 3.2895 ounces of onions. Probably if you actually had a scale with you and you took it into the storeroom, you'd probably end up just getting 3.3 ounces of onions. But just for precision's sake, I'm going to go ahead and just put in this more precise answer. And that way, you know, sometimes we'll go in there and we'll get 3.2, sometimes we'll get 3.3. So we'll just bank on kind of this really precise measurement. So this is the as purchased quantity. This is the amount that I'm going to want to go and I'm going to want to get out of the storeroom, so that when I fabricate it, I should end up with 3 ounces worth of usable onion. So for my total cost, I'm simply going to take the 3.2895 ounces and multiply it by the APC cost, 0.0194. So 0.0194, and I'm going to times it by 3.2895, is going to give me 0.0638, or if you just round it up money-wise, 7 cents. And there you go. Our onions have now been costed out. And it took into account that fabrication. Because if I hadn't done the fabrication, if I, oops, well, I didn't mean to delete that. Let's get that back, shall we? There we go. If we hadn't taken the fabrication into account and I just costed out for the 3 ounces of onions, what would have happened is we would have done the 3 ounces times the 0.0194 instead. And when we do that, we actually would have gotten that the onions would have cost us only 6 cents. And now some of you might be thinking, well, big deal, I'm only off by a cent. The problem is, if you are a restaurant that does the spinach and artichoke dip every day, several times a day, and you're going to be off a penny every single time, that's going to add up really quickly. So you want to make sure that your price is as accurate as possible. And with the onion at a 91.2% yield, I mean, you're not losing a whole lot of onion through the fabrication. But if we're talking about something like cilantro, where it only has like a 40-something% yield, it's going to catch up to you real fast. You want to make sure that you're not forgetting to account for that fabrication.